How long is it going to take monetary policy to have an impact on our own lives? We're going to go ahead and take a closer look at that in this section. So like fiscal policy, monetary policy is subject to four major lags. We have the information lag, recognition lag, decision lag, and implementation lag. So the same four lags that we saw on the fiscal policy side. However, in terms of monetary policy, we're going to notice that it takes monetary policy a lot less time to have an impact on our own lives, pretty much because they are getting rid of two major lags that we see right here. They still do exist, but they're not going to be as long as what we saw under fiscal policy. So the first lag, the information lag, of course, there is going to be some type of information lag because it does require some time to get data that is good. So reporting the data, collecting the data, revising the data. Remember that the Federal Reserve is still working with the same data sets that the government is going to do. So we're always going to be working with at least 1 to 2 quarters, 1 to 6 months worth of lag with the information lag. And they still have the same recognition lag as well. So the time it takes to decide whether or not where we are in the business cycle, or we just want to wait and see what happens. So here, remember, it does take time for us to delve into all this data, see exactly where we are in the business cycle, and exactly if we want to do something or not. And that's another 1 to 6 months of lag, so another 1 to 2 quarters. So we're always going to be dealing with at least 1 year's worth of lags with the information lag and recognition lag together. However, the biggest changes under monetary policy come with the decision lag and implementation lag. So remember the decision lag, it took roughly about 1 year for it to sort of go through under fiscal policy because that's the time it takes for Congress to come together and compromise on a policy that is going to be something that they can agree on. With monetary policy, however, the decision lag is pretty much non-existent. The Board of Governors, essentially everybody within the Federal Reserve System, they come together every single month, they have meetings with one another, and they clearly detail exactly what plans they want to go ahead and go through with monetary policy, even if they aren't changing their plans to a drastic measure. Even if things are going to be as normal, they make that known to the public. So here, because the Federal Reserve, they do meet on a monthly basis, they can come to a consensus fairly sort of rapidly compared to fiscal policy. The decision lag is pretty much eliminated under monetary policy. So there is maybe an inherent 1 to 6 months worth of lags, but the decision lag is very, very short compared to fiscal policy. And then the implementation lag, we saw that this took roughly about 18 to 24 months under fiscal policy. This is also sort of eliminated under monetary policy, maybe another 1 to 6 months in this case, because under monetary policy, using the open market operations, the money is going to go ahead and be put into the economy essentially immediately. So if they want to go ahead and buy $100 billion worth of bonds in order to increase the money supply by $100 billion, it does so, and it happens immediately. It happens very, very quickly. It's pretty much insane to think about how fast monetary policy can actually be implemented and have that money increase or decrease within the economy. And that is going to go ahead and work through all the appropriate channels and all through the appropriate mechanisms in order to affect your life, my life, and also businesses and firms within the country. So when we compare monetary policy against fiscal policy, the average time for monetary policy to affect the economy is 12 to 18 months, which is much faster compared to the fiscal policy of 24 to 36 months. So with all of this, this is essentially why the Federal Reserve tends to react quite quickly to any type of negative economic shocks, especially with our past financial recessions, because they know that they can impact the economy in a fairly quick manner, and that is going to have a huge impact on your life and on my life, and to help smooth out the business cycle. So with all of this, this will wrap up chapter number 12, where we talk about how banks operate in the Federal Reserve structure and the Federal Reserve System itself. So by doing a little bit of accounting, we learned how banks are going to be actually creating money. We talked about the Federal Reserve, the structure of it, and exactly what that entails. And then most importantly, we talked about the tools of the Federal Reserve with the reserve requirement, with discount rates, and open market operations. With the open market operations in mind and the channels and mechanisms that we've already detailed, we're going to open up this just a little bit in our next chapter, chapter number 13, and see how the Federal Reserve is going to conduct these open market operations in order to influence the entire economy. So we're going to introduce aggregate demand, short-run aggregate supply, and long-run aggregate supply again in order to see where our macroeconomic equilibrium is going to be under monetary policy. So we'll go ahead and this chapter. Great job. I'll see you guys in our final chapter, so our nightmare is almost over.